The Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Planted with Sara. I'm Sara Pine, your host, and today we have Brooke Burghstahler, creative, actress, and founder of Budding Mind on the podcast. Brooke is a writer, producer, host, and actress in television, online media, and film. A specialist in high-quality educational and entertaining content she calls edutainment, which I love. Brooke is a star of Big Mike and advanced nutrient show World of Weed, which she develops, produces, and hosts daily. An in-demand creator in cannabis, Brooke scours for stories and conceptualizes unique topics to explore, covering everything from pop culture to politics, history, hot new brands, celebrity interviews, and progress in social justice reform. On the acting side, Brooke's appeared on MTV, ABC, TBS, AMC, The Oxygen Network, CoverGirl, and more. In cannabis media, she's a creative visionary behind numerous campaigns with several premier media outlets. In 2018, Brooke was awarded a Golden Telly for her docuseries Prisoners of Prohibition, produced for Mary Jane Media. See? Working with Snoop. To date, Brooke's online content has reached millions of viewers. Brooke is also a 500-hour certified yoga instructor and holds a Bachelor's of Science in Broadcast Journalism and a Bachelor of Arts in Theater from the University of Miami. Brooke's cannabis and wellness startup, Budding Mind, is designed to expand the mind and heart through exploration of plant medicine, alternative healing, science, and spirituality. The multi-channel online platform features podcasts, video, long-form education content, and e-commerce for Brooke's favorite products and brands. Welcome, Brooke, and welcome, a fellow theater nerd. I love it.
Aloha. Thank you for having me on. That's a long-ass bio, huh?
I love it. Hey, you've done a lot, and it's really cool because, you know, when you think about cannabis, there is so much that's involved in it. There's the creative, there's the social justice, there's the education, and you're doing it. And I think that that's wonderful because we can't have too much of that, right?
Yeah. Seems like there's not enough education to go around, honestly. Yeah,
it's so true.
For sure.
Well, you know, I'm going to start you out with that question I always ask. Tell me about your first experience with cannabis.
Oh, my God. This is one of my favorite stories to tell. And honestly, just like talking to other people in cannabis, it's a question people ask, right? So I've gotten very great at dialing in this story. So, excuse me if you hear my dog.
Oh, no worries.
Rampaging through all of my stuff. So I went to high school in Scottsdale, Arizona, and that's where I met a group of older boys in high school. And so I snuck out one night, and we went over to this boy Joey's house, me and a couple of my girlfriends. We were younger than them, and they asked if I wanted to try weed for the first time, smoke out of a bong, no light introduction. And the setting was absolutely hysterical. It was totally like the perfect stereotype incarnate. It was, I was sitting in a beanbag chair in a high school senior's room with black lights and those furry posters on the wall that you like color in with neon highlighters.
Were there lava lights?
Like that's all it was missing was a lava lamp. Totally. And so I tried cannabis for the first time, and it was a really beautiful, like, sensory expanding experience that I've never had before. And really what ended up happening is I made out with Joey. That's right, your girl. And I remember being so tuned in to how it felt, like literally how his lips felt, how his hands felt. Like, I remember thinking, Joey's tongue feels like a whale's tail sloshing around inside my mouth. Like, I don't actually think I like this. I think Joey might be a bad kisser. I had just such an expanded awareness and, just like a totally heightened presence. And I loved it. And I came away from it like, I don't like Joey, but I love weed. And I never turned back.
What'd you do about Joey?
You know, I have no idea where Joey is today. I don't even remember his last name, but I have told this story on so many podcasts that I pray him or someone that he knows, like one of these days, someone's going to be like, is that Brooke from Desert Mountain? And then and then Joey and I will reconnect. And, maybe we're star-crossed lovers. Don't tell it to my fiance, but anything can happen, right?
Or at the very least, you could share a bowl, right?
Yeah, just close the circle. Thank you, Joey. You started my career in cannabis.
See, I like that. I actually do remember, I was 13 and my friend we got it from a senior in high school, and his name was Dave, and we didn't get high. We told him we wanted our money back. So he took the weed and never did anything else.
What?
Yeah. I remember his last name, but I'm not going to put it up because poor guy probably has a different life.
But screw you, Dave.
Right?
You didn't get my girl high?
I know. He's like,
because it probably was oregano.
It probably was. He was like, listen, 8th grader.
Yeah.
Get it together.
You're not going to know the difference.
You're not going to know the difference. So what got you into cannabis? Because you've had you've been on a lot of shows. You've done a lot. And that it's a really wonderful combination. Your broadcast background, for school and theater. And then where did working in cannabis kind of come into play for you? When did you decide, hey, this makes sense for me?
Yeah, well, I moved out to Los Angeles with high hopes of being a famous actress and movie star. And don't worry, I'm not jaded enough. I still hold on to those hopes. But in the mix of coming out to LA and pursuing a creative career, I was kind of introduced to the cannabis industry at this beautiful intersection of creating content within the space. And my first opportunity was by way of a traditional audition for Mary Jane, creating cannabis news content for them. And so I really got to engage my journalistic background and, just wrote short-form news stories for them, created news packages, and then ultimately Prisoners of Prohibition, a 4-part docuseries, which you actually can watch on YouTube, on Mary Jane's YouTube and Snoop Dogg's YouTube, which is about people serving life sentences for cannabis. And when I did that docuseries is really when my passion for the continuation of this conversation was really born, was seeing the multifaceted aspects of this space, that it's not just about getting high, it's not necessarily just about this cannabis counterculture, but it's like very, very much a political movement and something that I ultimately wanted to be a part of and wanted to be. I'm a person, I'm a communicator. I love using my words. I'm a very expressive person, and I love this plant, and she has provided so many opportunities for me. So what better way to use my voice to advocate for her? That's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's really important, to talk about the people who have been taken from their families, and then are still incarcerated. A lot of people, in California here, we kind of live in a little bubble in many ways, because we had medical cannabis for a really long time, and then with legalization and how it's spreading throughout the nation, I think when people have access, they forget that there are still people who are paying the price for lack of a better description, for entrepreneurs who saw the value in it before and were, quite honestly, just trying to put food on the table,
It's kind of fascinating to think that there's 40,000 people serving sentences for cannabis-related crimes in the United States right now, and there's, I believe, there's about 300,000 people working legally in the cannabis industry in the United States. So to say that these 300,000 people are legitimate employees of legitimate businesses, and that those 40,000 people who just happen to miss the boat of legalization should somehow remain punished, there's an obvious disconnect there that I think goes without a need for explanation. But yeah, it's a reality of working in this space, and it is obviously heartbreaking in so many ways, and talking about it is like the ultimate buzzkill, which I think is somewhat ironic. I've hosted like screenings of my documentary while there's been cannabis sponsors, and I've gotten everyone high and then showed them this documentary and realized like these things actually don't mix. This is a very serious, very emotional subject matter. These are brothers and sisters sitting in prison, some of them for their entire lives over a plant. And whether it be the cannabis plant or another plant or whatever plant, it's a plant, man. And that should definitely raise a lot of eyebrows in terms of a government's ability to decide liberties for people.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing how laws and policies are made. I started working almost 10 years ago in the cannabis world, and that was when we were still getting trained on if we got, raided by the Department of Justice. And I remember, I remember my boss saying that, when they would do their taxes and they'd have to, describe what everybody was doing, those of us behind the bar, and at that time I was teaching classes too and behind the bar, so a portion of my day was actually categorized for the federal government as trafficking. And I was like, whoa. I had never experienced that. I was like, okay, all right. But, when we're looking at, it's like the impact that this has had on people, and it is sobering. It's a sobering thing to think about. And the fact that a lot of these, going back to policies and laws, and when I used to, I still work in policy, but when I was the co-chair of the task force in San Francisco, one of the things that I noticed was that policies aren't necessarily, and laws aren't necessarily based on fact all the time. They're based on stigma. And when we're looking at policies for legalization or medical programs, a state culture comes into it a lot too, which is really strong. Like going to different states and seeing what they're allowing and what they're not allowing and what they're prosecuting over. And then, of course, the one thing that comes up often that makes people squirm in their seats is racism.
Right.
Oh, well, and see, we just took it there. We just took it down. But but I mean, it's a beautiful conversation to continue to have. If you're ever given the opportunity or the setting to share about the realities of what's behind the veil in the cannabis space to average consumer, I think. Are you there? Yeah, I am. I'm just listening intently.
Oh, sorry, the audio. No, the audio dropped out on my end. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
But I think, as you mentioned, California, we're in a bit of a bubble. The blessing of the bubble is our access and just our level of being informed. And I think that there are actually a lot of consumers out there who aren't privy to this information. So let's plant those seeds, girly.
Yeah, we have to. We have to. And planting the seeds for, our policymakers to create more opportunities for people who have been impacted by the war on drugs. Because that was one of the things, like when we talked about equity programs in the Bay Area and starting those up. And the thing that really frustrated me was that we had to use that terminology, people impacted by the war on drugs, because I really would have liked it. And I know we can't legally, break it down even more, but it would be really, really just come clean and say Black and brown folks that have been affected by the war on drugs. Yes, there are also white people in jail for drug violations and sales and things like that. But as we know, majority of the people who are in prison over this are Black and brown folks, and they really should be given a leg up. And that is one of the things that gets me with, we thought that would be a great way to give create an accessible industry for people. And as we progress through this, it's just gotten so, like, the cost of entry has gotten so high. I just don't understand how the state can be baffled by the blossoming traditional market.
Yeah. I think you said it so beautifully, that the need for coming clean, I think, is really like a hard truth that we must eventually confront. But yeah, and I'm not in a plant touching business, so I'm actually really fortunate in that way, because I don't really, as a content creator, I have to deal with red tape in a marketing component, but licenses and applications and legal fees and all of those things are not something that I personally had to be confronted with. And I'm very grateful, because the continuum of headaches that people must encounter in order to enter this industry, or potentially re-enter this industry from having been previously incarcerated, is just, it's, I'd be lying if I didn't say I thought some of it was intentional, Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. It's just it is an interesting thing, because I know, my work outside of the dispensary isn't plant touching. So for those of us who don't have that, our greatest worry is whether we're going to get shadow banned on IG. It's like, pull down those hashtags, can't have them up.
I know. But that is true too. Yeah. I mean, I create a cannabis news show, World of Weed, and it's perfect for TikTok, but they literally, and you cannot talk about weed on TikTok at all. And that's obviously really freaking annoying above all. And I've had plenty of experiences on Instagram where I am telling the same news story as NBC News about, let's say, the FBI is no longer testing people for previous cannabis use. I tell that story. My video gets blocked. NBC News tells that story, and it's totally fine. So there's obviously a hierarchy, and there's a lot of gatekeeping around who's even able to share this information, which obviously parlays into what information is accessible to people.
Yeah, that's a huge disconnect, because the one thing that I've noticed is, people who are more closely in the industry talking to people have a better idea, and the misinformation that we see out there is insane. Like, I just watched on PBS, Nova just did a documentary on cannabis, and there was there was a lot of good stuff in there, but then they threw some things in there that I was like, well, that's not true. Oh no, everyone's gonna say, well, if Nova says it, it's gotta be true. And that gets me. I love that when mainstream media starts covering it and it normalizes it for people, because I always like to say conversation is normalization. But when Dr. Chopra, when he did his weed series, and I remember that was when I was still in the dispensary, and there was this lady who came in. She was in her early 90s, and she was like, well, if Dr. Gupta says it's okay, I'm going to try it. And I was like, yeah, let's do this.
After previously having said, this is no good.
Right. Only bad people do it.
Even him retracting his own reporting is just,
yeah, I thought that was cool that he did that. I really appreciate that much more than well, for example, Boehner being really against it and then being for it, but giving absolutely no explanations or apologies around it. I'm like, come on, come clean, hat in hand. Let's have this conversation, because that's going to help more than anything. And if for anything, just think about how it's going to help your pocketbook, man. Just come clean. Say it.
Well, I think that's the only thing you're thinking about.
It's true.
That's why there's no explanation. Protect the pocket.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your news, your wild world of weed.
Oh yeah, baby.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
Tell me how you put it together. I've seen your videos. I just think, well, I mean, not only are you smart, but I find you delightful. Like just how eye-catching they are, and they just pop, and you give like great bites of information for people. But I want to hear you talk about it.
Well, beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a cannabis news show that runs episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Instagram and on YouTube, and everything is formatted to be as bite-sized and digestible as possible. And you can find us at World of Weed News. And this is a program that I make for Advanced Nutrients and Big Mike. And it's been almost a year and a half now creating content with them, and it's been a beautiful privilege. And it's also come with a lot of hiccups, a lot of figuring out. There are so many different types of people that are interested in cannabis. It's like every kind of person.
Yeah.
So figuring out how to create for the everyman has come with its own challenges and also its own freedoms, because, you know, I can talk about terpene science and current events, and then talk about stupid stories like what kind of recipes you should infuse for your Thanksgiving dinner. So we cover the whole spectrum, and everything is with a cheeky twist. And you know, I am by no means an expert, and I don't try to pretend that I am. I am an informed consumer and educator, but I really like to view my position as the filter or the bridge between the experts and the people. So I take the information from the scientists and the doctors and the researchers, et cetera, and try to distill that information into layman's terms so that the average cannabis appreciator can learn a nugget or two about their favorite plant. But, you know, not every story is for every person, but it's definitely a lot of fun and something I'm really passionate about. And I hope to see the show expand into a million different directions. You know, right now we are only in the digital spheres, but I am hopeful that one day a regular network might be open to featuring some kind of cannabis content that's not just like comedic or poking fun or highlighting, you know, the party aspects of cannabis consumption. But I would love to see our show, or any cannabis show, just reaching a broader audience, because I think it's pretty clear that people who are engaging with cannabis content are typically people who already smoke weed.
Yeah.
But the goal is to get content in front of people who aren't, to make them more comfortable. I'm not trying to convince people to try weed. I'm just trying to convince people to be okay with weed.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, even if it's not for you, it's like, you know, I think the normalization makes it easier for people that it works for them, and it's, you know, there's not as much judgment. Like, I kept my cannabis use really low key, you know, didn't really share it except for a few friends back in the day, and I didn't become really open about my use until I had cancer. And I was just like, what are you going to do? I got stage 3 colon cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it really helped me. It helped me through it. And that's what got me into my work today. And I love it. But it's like, you know.
Holy snap.
Yeah. I was.
What a story. Oh my goodness.
Well, people are always like, how do I get a job like yours? And I always joke, well, first you get cancer. And then, you know, and they're all like, ooh.
How bad do you really want it?
I know. I'm like, no, I wouldn't wish that on you. Just, you know, leave a really good paying middle management job and go work for $15 an hour behind the bar and learn.
It's as easy as that. Yeah.
If you really want to bootstrap it, and do it in San Francisco. So it's like, you know, people will tell you, oh, you look great. Have you lost weight? It's like, yeah, I'm living on the yogurt and soup diet. Which I'm sure in LA is like not uncommon either.
Yeah, not necessarily for financial reasons, but more because everyone's so health centric.
Right.
We prefer not to chew our food here.
A straw will do. Oh wait, no, we don't. Well, if it's non-recyclable
A
straw.
metal straw.
A metal straw. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, those days are far, far behind me. But I really like, what you were saying about, having it be digestible, because we do need, with normalization, we need things that are approachable and friendly. And when I was watching your videos, I really saw that. And it's really, really important, because when I do trainings with cannabis professionals that are working behind the bar, and I love how excited they get about things, and they start nerding out, and they'll be like, Sarah, what do you think about this, and blah blah blah, and the hippocampus, and Dr. Ethan Rousseau says la la la, and I'm like, that's awesome. Now, how do you break that down and explain that to somebody on the other side of the bar? Because that's how you know that you
Right.
truly understand it. And we're about bridging the gap, not making people's eyes go wide and glaze over and be like, oh, what the hell are you talking about?
A cannabis wada?
What?
Totally, yeah. And I think by making, information more digestible and just more simplified, you open the doors to more people. I've made this analogy before, but as a former yoga instructor, current yogi, I find that a lot of people have tension in their body. They have heard about yoga and they think, oh, this could really be the gateway for me to feel better in my body, but I'm intimidated. I've never done it before. If I go to a class, everyone's going to know I'm new. I don't want to ask questions. I don't want like the spotlight on me. And even though I've heard it's so good for so many people and so many things, and I think it might help me, I'm not going to try because I'm intimidated. And I think people feel that way about cannabis too, especially people of an older generation. My mother's generation, their interest is piqued. There is a curiosity there. Maybe it could help with my Crohn's. Maybe it could help with my migraines. Maybe it could help with this. But ultimately, I don't want to go into a dispensary. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to have someone help me through it. So I'm just not going to try. And that is such a bummer, and it should never be that way. These are both communities, both the yoga community and the cannabis community should be totally wide open spaces that anyone can feel comfortable entering, asking a question, and being a beginner in. Yeah. And that is really what I want people to know.
Yeah, I hear that. And kind of going back to, you were talking earlier about cannabis culture and how vast it is, and how you choose your programming of your videos to touch on different parts of the culture. I think as we start to have that normalization, and it does broaden, that's when we are looking at there's a place for everybody. Because when we first were starting out with medical, it's like, and I say this with all the love, like stoner culture was really strong. It's very intimidating for people who don't understand it. It's a very rich thing for those of us who, do, or it's their culture, they're immersed in it, but it's a whole different thing when, it's somebody who's a little older who, may be more into Barry Manilow than Cypress Hill.
Am I wrong to say I am too?
Hey, I got a lot of love for Barry.
More of a Manilow.
Well, it's so funny because, like, my husband, he always jokes. He's like, "This is how you can tell I'm cheesy." Because he's got Barry Manilow on his Apple, his iTunes, and he's just like, yeah, every so often he'll put it on, and we'll just kind of goof around in the living room.
Hey, that means your man's romantic. I appreciate that streak.
Yeah, me too. Me too. He's not afraid to get in touch with his Manilow side. But it is, it's really cool to see, like, I've noticed in some of the communities, the senior communities, they have some really big cannabis clubs where they're talking, and when I've gone to work with them, there'll be people who are really new to it, and then there'll be other people that, like, I make my own cookies, or I like to make my tea, and I'm like, God, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. Like, it may not necessarily be for them. You know, some of us don't react well to cannabis at all. It's a small portion of us, but we exist. You know, I'm not including myself because my body's built for it. But
yeah,
you know,
knock on wood.
Yeah, that's it. But it's like having those conversations and normalizing it, and also just like with the dispensaries changing. And yes, you've got your dispensaries that are definitely more immersed in the traditional cannabis culture, and that's a very cool, rich thing. But then there are also places where people can go in and like, well, I mean, my dispensary is like the first time before I worked there, I walked by and I thought it was an apothecary. I thought it was a soap shop, and I really love places like that. So I walked up and I was like, oh wait, it's a dispensary, and I have my card with me. Let's go in and check it out. But it is, you know, it's nice to see the culture growing and it being inclusive for everybody's tastes and everybody's level of experience. And just knowing that, you know, being able to pick out the places that you could send your mom or your grandma and you know that they would be well taken care of.
Totally. And you know what? I've embarked on that journey before. So,
oh,
yeah.
Have you? What was that like?
Well, my parents were really anti-cannabis when I first got involved in the industry, and it kept me very much in my cannabis closet. So there was an ironic twist at some point, maybe 3 or 4 years in, where my mom, who does have Crohn's disease and gastrointestinal issues, she did her homework and realized cannabis might be of benefit to her, and then ultimately was asking me for stuff. And so I had to like really figure out how to dip her toes in the water without scaring her and find the mom approved products and the mom approved dispensaries and experiences so that she would stay on board, you know, which was a lot of fun. There's a lot of really beautiful brands and products out there that are super femme and super clean and chic and just feel like, you know, feel good. You feel good consuming them. You feel good buying them and supporting them. And so my job was honestly pretty easy. Yeah.
What are some of your, when talking about those products, because that's one thing that's really excited me, because we've come a long way from, I remember like getting like a cocoa mix from a dispensary and mixing it up and having like this green sludge on top, and it's like you're just like, choke it down. You're not doing it because it tastes good, you know. And that's all out the door. Like we see all these amazing products, but what are some of your favorites that you're really digging on right now?
Oh my goddess. Well, I love Late Grade and I love Fume, and they're under the same umbrella, the same family of umbrella. You get it.
Yeah, totally.
So Fume is like the ultimate chic, packaged, gorgeous, high-end, premium cannabis brand. So when I'm feeling super fancy, I'll indulge with a Fume pre-roll. Honestly, it's just like to the nines. They make beautiful gifts, and they've gone over very well in the past for me. So if someone's looking for a last minute gift, Fume is just like already beautiful out the box. But Late Grade flower, I actually prefer because it's sun-grown and organic and just feels super Californian to me. So that's like my favorite flower. And I really love the root of it all. I don't know. Have you ever heard of them?
No, I haven't heard of them.
They're so cute. The root of it all they make like a line of cannabis tinctures, and they have several different varieties, different ratios of CBD to THC to other cannabinoids, and they've built their tinctures based off of Ayurvedic principles. So it's one of the products I'm looking at one right now. It's called Slow, and it's a 1-to-1 THC to CBD ratio, and it's got basil, fennel, and orange essential oils in it. So it makes it taste amazing. But these are also essential oils that have been known to give you the benefits of relaxation and ease, and to bring about like a mood boosted energy. So I really, really dig their tinctures. they're super cute and they're delicious.
I love
and sometimes
that.
it's nice, like, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just exclaiming. I'm like, I love that.
Oh, great. So yeah, I don't know about you, but like in my cannabis journey, I have gone from, and I'm still like on the younger end, so I'm coming out of my hardcore years, but I definitely have gone through many phases where I'm awake and bake, smoke all day. That's my relationship with cannabis, kind of cycles.
Mm-hmm.
But I am now evolving. I'm becoming a little bit more mindful about my consumption practices. And so things like tinctures and edibles are taking a more prominent seat at my consumption table versus just combustion options like smoking a joint or a pipe.
I hear that. I've kind of gone through the same changes myself because especially like when I was first working in the dispensary, it's like, definitely was more of a wake and baker, especially to get behind the bar and be working with people. I used to joke that cannabis kind of made my career because I was able to be like loosened up enough to just talk to anybody. I was like, all right, let's do this. Oh, you're going to be difficult? Oh, don't do that to me. Come on, we're having fun. Let's do this.
Don't worry, I'm high.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, man. But, it's like as it does start to evolve, things start to change. And you're like, okay, it's also as we get older, our bodies change. And for me, like, I still love smoking a joint. There's especially a joint that's got like some really good hash in it. But during the day now, to be a little bit more productive, I've been really digging on using a CBD and CBG tincture to really give me focus.
Nice.
But going back to those tinctures that you were talking about, one of the things that I've been really enjoying when seeing the evolution of the industry is people really taking notice of that beautiful synergy between other plants and cannabis.
Yes.
That's some
yes,
lovely
indeed.
stuff. Yeah. Have you tried?
It is.
There's one thing that I've been digging on lately, and I don't know if you've tried them. If you haven't, check them out and tell me what you think. Rose LA. They have these.
Are these the Turkish delights?
Yeah. Have you tried them?
Oh, I have, and they're freaking delicious.
They are so good, and Nathan is awesome, and like the collaborations that he's been doing with chefs are, it's brilliant. I just really.
They're so beautiful too.
Aren't they? I know, and he's working with like local produce and. Actually, it was last year this time I had him on with Dominique Crenn, and we were talking about, the process and flavors, and it just is a whole. It's the stuff that I used to dream about back in the day happening, and we're seeing now, and with such passionate people, it makes me feel. I just feel so fortunate to be working in a sphere with people like Nathan and you, and just the things that we're all building to share with our communities is just a really beautiful thing.
Well, hey, likewise. Thank you so much. It is a very exciting time to be witness to the evolution and to watch the roots grow deeper and deeper in a space when you were there when the seed was planted. So, yes, it's very unique time to be a part of something that's still figuring itself out, and to have any contributing elements towards, helping this space find its most divine alignment. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. Well, and when we're looking at, like, we've talked about, some of the past, we were talking about the now, but what are you excited about in the future? And not only with like the industry, but like your projects and what you're doing. Like, is there anything that you're cooking up that you'd want to share with us? And I totally understand if as a creative you can't, because I get that.
Well, you know what? I have my own podcast, the Budding Mind Podcast, which is on Spotify and iTunes. Give it a listen. And it's honestly been a little bit difficult for me to find consistency in that practice. I think having a podcast is a lot easier said than done. So I'm really excited for the new year because I have, my distribution plan. I'm ready to rock and find a rhythm with that. So I'm very excited to just watch that unfold and see what relationships and opportunities might be born from the conversations that I get to have in that avenue. And I'm sure, obviously this is something you know very well. And
yes, true.
And beyond that, I do have an exciting project that I cannot share, but definitely be on the lookout. Find me on Instagram, Burghstahler and Budding Mind, because I have a beautiful visual and spiritual product coming out that I'm working on with my partner, with my fiance Jimmy. So that's been a really adorable endeavor, and I'm super stoked for it to finally be in people's hands in the new year. So that's vague, right? But
but hey, you shared. You did.
Yeah, speak it into existence, right?
That's it. And I'm really excited to hear that you're doing more episodes of your podcast. That's really cool, because we need more info. Yeah. And especially because like everything that you're doing this year, I've been learning about, well, actually it's been a couple of years now. It's like creating and all the different avenues that you really need to tap to create like a full picture of, what you're doing and putting out into the world. So I think it's essential to have all these different components: video, audio, visual, when we're looking at like graphics and stuff, just to be able to, because everybody learns in such different ways. And so how do you communicate with all these people? Like, what mediums do you use? And I honestly, like, when podcasts first started, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then when I started listening to some, and I started with non-cannabis podcasts because a friend of mine was like, have you ever listened to the podcast Shit Town? And I was like, no. And I did, and it was really, really good. And I was like, oh, this is kind of like, that one was kind of like a radio serial in a way.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. And then I was kind of like, okay, I understand. Because like for years people were like, you should do a podcast. I was like, okay, sure. And then when I started, I was like, oh, I understand the value in this, and this is actually really cool, and it's engaging, and it's a great opportunity to be able to catch up and talk with people that either I haven't met before or I haven't talked to in a really long time. And the thing I love about it the most is being able to give other people a platform to talk about the really cool things that they're doing and what they're passionate about. I love that.
Totally. Well, you do it so well, let me tell you.
Oh, well, thanks. Thanks. Well, it doesn't hurt to have somebody who's as friendly and intelligent and engaging as you. So, there's that.
Oh, wow. We're in compliment corner, aren't we, Sarah?
We totally are. We totally
My favorite space.
I know, right? Well, and when we're looking at like the industry itself, and even like, I know we talked about like on like the information / entertainment side, having more shows go mainstream and be more accessible to the public so that we aren't in as much of an echo chamber. But what are other things that you're excited about for the future, that you have you visualize, like you have hopes for the future just at large with what we're all doing?
Oh, wow. Well, I think coming out of the pandemic and returning to in-person community is a really exciting thing. I've made some really incredible friendships through cannabis and through cannabis events. And, I think we're quite spoiled here in California, but the frequency and the quality of the community gatherings here, it was just so much fun. And now I'm finally feeling things picking back up, and I'm really delighted to be returning to that space. And, I'm hopeful to also contribute to the elevation of those spaces, because I think we're moving beyond just like the come to my cannabis launch party and get stoned. I think we're moving into like a more sophisticated potential arena. So within the industry, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for us to keep, leveling up our game. And of course, I'm hopeful for more and more states to turn on to their own legalization efforts, and I'm excited to see what legalization looks like in new places as far as social justice goes, environmental policy. I'm hopeful that as we continue on our journey, that more and more states will actually lay new foundation and set better examples for the rest of us. Like in New York State, there was an attempt at the very least when legalization was striking there to, along with like their legal policy, to have some kind of environmental efforts to have recycling programs set in place at the moment of legalization. And these are things that I really hope that more people get turned on to and we take seriously. I think it's extremely important that the cannabis industry remains authentic to its roots, which is, it's all about honoring a plant and I think honoring the planet. So the more ways that we can do that and express that, the better. So yeah, that's what excites me.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm really excited to see what happens. I really hope that states start looking at what other states are doing and what worked and what didn't, and instead of continuously making the same mistakes over and over again, we start to really learn from what we're doing. Everyone look at California.
Yeah, there's enough examples. So let's
Exactly. It would be when I say look at California, people are like, well, it's not all great. I'm like, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We're not perfect. We're actually very, very far from it. Learn from it.
Take California and then take a step above it, would you?
Yeah, exactly. And for those who want to follow you and check out all your amazing projects, I know you mentioned your IG, but how can they find you?
Yes, please find me. Be my friend. You can find me. Let's just stick to Instagram. You can find me at Brooke Burghstahler, and you can also find me at Budding Mind. And my podcast is the Budding Mind Podcast on Spotify and iTunes. And if you do end up following me from here, send me a message. Let's connect. I love my canna community.
Oh, right on. Thank you so much. And for those of you, remember, Planted is twice a month, and we are Planted with Sara on IG. We are Planted with Sara Payan on Facebook, Planted with Sara on Twitter. If you want to see my cannabis educational content, pictures of things I've made, and cute pictures of my cat Jasper, you can follow me in Sara.
Who doesn't want?
Right? He's a rag doll, for crying out loud. And that IG is Sara Mitra Payan. Brooke, thank you so much for being here today. It's such a treat, especially, on a cold day in Oakland, although people probably in the Midwest are like, whatever, girl.
But it's cold here too. Don't be ashamed.
Right. It's been a treat talking with you, and I really hope we can continue the conversation. Come back anytime.
Likewise. Thank you, Sara. Thanks for having me, and I will talk to you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you out there, it's a crazy world. We still got a lot of stuff going on. Stay safe. Be good to one another. And until we meet next time, stay curious. Bye, everyone.